Hey guys, this is Miss Stoop, and today we are going to be talking about Pythagorean theorem word problems. And just so you know, my class, this is going to be notes page 6 for you. So today we're simply going to be doing some examples because we already know that Pythagorean theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared, and we know that that's used to solve for missing sides of a right triangle. So today we are going to draw pictures and use the Pythagorean theorem to solve for the missing value in the word problem. So just so you know, every word problem is going to involve a right triangle of some sort in the picture. So our first example says, Isaac's television is 25 inches wide and 18 inches high. What is the diagonal size of Isaac's television? Round to the nearest tenth if necessary. So the first thing we're going to do is draw a picture of Isaac's television because that's what we're talking about in the problem. And all televisions are, a rectangle. It says that Isaac's television is 25 inches wide and that it's 18 inches high, or 18 inches tall is what I would say instead. It wants to know the diagonal size of Isaac's television. So diagonal means that we're going from one of the bottom corners to the opposite top corner. So this is what we want to know in the problem. As you can see, when the television is divided in half, it's forming this right triangle here, where 18 and 25 are our legs and our question mark is our hypotenuse. So we're going to go ahead and start solving. So the first thing I always do is write down my a squared plus b squared equals c squared so that I can plug things in correctly underneath. So since 18 and 25 are our legs, we're going to plug those in for a and b. And c is what we're going to be solving for. We need to plug 18 squared plus 25 squared into our calculator. And we get 949 equals c squared. Next, we need to get rid of the squared sign off of our c. So we're going to take the square root of both sides. If you hit second x squared and then second and the negative sign button at the very bottom, it'll replug in 949 for you. And we get 30.805. Since we have a 5, we're rounding to the nearest tenth. I almost messed that up. I was about to do the hundredths. We're rounding to the nearest tenth, so we only care about 80. And since there's a 0 after the 8, 8 is going to stay the same. And that is our C. Since we are working on word problems, last thing you want to do is put your unit next to your answer. And since we're talking about inches in the problem, we're going to put 30.8 inches. So we figured out that this TV is 30.8 inches diagonal length, and actually that would just mean that this is about a 30-inch TV, because all televisions are measured by the diagonal length when you buy them. So for our second example, it says Miss Stoop travels 30 miles south, then 67 miles west. How far away from her starting point is she? Round to the nearest tenth if necessary. So first we're going to start out by drawing a picture. I'm going 30 miles south, so that means I'm definitely going down first. Then I'm going 67 miles west. So think about, if you're looking at a United States map, west is going to be out towards California. So I went 67 miles that way. It wants to know how far I am from my starting point. So I started all the way up here and I'm here now. Well, my actual distance from my starting point isn't going to be 67 plus 30 because I want to know the straight distance. So we're actually going to be solving for another diagonal here, in which this is where our right angle is, which means that 30 and 67 are going to be the legs of my triangle. And I'm again solving for my hypotenuse. So we're going to start out by writing our a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Plug in 30 and 67 for A and B, and C is our variable. Plug 30 squared plus 67 squared in your calculator, and you get 5,389 equals C squared. Next, we need to get rid of this squared sign off of C. So we're going to take the square root of both sides. So we hit our second x squared, second negative sign, and we get 73.40. So again, since we're rounding to the nearest tenth, we get to stay the same at 4 since the number after was 0, equals C. Then lastly, we need to write down our unit with our number that we found, and our unit is in miles in the problem, so it's going to be 73.4 miles. So my distance is 73.4 miles. My last problem that I'm going to do with you guys is going to involve solving for one of my legs instead. So it says Miss Bofice is painting a room. She leans a ladder that is 15 feet long and 6 feet from the base of the wall. How tall is the wall that she's painting? Round to the nearest tenth if necessary. So think about a ladder that's leaning against the wall. We have a wall that's straight up and down. We have the floor, which forms our right angle. And then we have a ladder that's just leaning against a wall here. I'm going to draw a really rough ladder. So Miss Bofice's ladder is 15 feet long. And it's 6 feet from the base of the wall. So what that means is from the corner of the wall to the ladder, it's 6 feet away. We need to know how tall the wall is that she's painting, so we don't know this part right here. So take a look at where your right angle is being formed. That's your legs. Now we know we're missing one of our legs. So we have our hypotenuse, which is 15, and we have 6, which is one of our legs. We're first going to write a squared plus b squared equals c squared. We can plug 6 in for a or b, it doesn't matter. Let's go ahead and leave a as our variable, 6 as our b, and 15 has to be our c since it's our hypotenuse. It's across from our right angle. So the first thing we're going to do is subtract 6 squared from both sides. Bring down our a squared and our equal sign, and in your calculator you need to find what 15 squared minus 6 squared is. I got that is 189. So now we need to get rid of our squared sign since a is by itself. So we're going to take the square root of both sides. Second x squared, second negative sign, and we get that a equals 13.74. So since there's a 4 that comes after the 7, it is also going to stay the same. So make sure in your example problems, if it's 5 and up, you round this number up. 4 and below, it stays the same. The last thing we need to do is put our unit, so we're talking about feet in this problem. So it's going to be 13.7 feet as our answer, which means our wall is 13.7 feet tall. So for the rest of the period, you're going to work on 3 example problems on your own. And you are actually going to draw a picture either on Google Slides or on your own piece of paper to show how you solve each problem. If you're drawing on Google Slides, draw on each slide that the questions are on. If you're drawing on a piece of paper, you're going to insert a picture of your piece of paper at the very end on the picture slide.